You are listening to ADHD Support Talk. ADHD Support Talk is brought to you by addclasses.com. Visit www.addclasses.com to sign up for helpful online resources and events today. Well, I want to welcome you back to ADHD Support Talk. I'm your co-host, Lynne Edris. And of course, I'm a productivity and ADHD coach. So I help overwhelmed professionals reduce procrastination, improve time management, and get more done with less effort so that they have more time, energy, and money for what they love the most. It's not about doing more. It's not about crossing as much crap off some list each day as you can. It's about getting the right things done more easily and more consistently so that you have the freedom and the fulfillment you want. You can learn more about me and what I do on my website. It's www.coachingadvantages.com. And when you text the keyword my quiz, MYQUIZ, no spaces, to the number 33777, you'll get access to my productivity breakthrough quiz to help you identify your productivity type and get to the root of what gets in the way of your follow through so that you can stop struggling and take control of your time in your life and show up like the incredible person you really are more easily and more consistently. Well, today I want to talk about something that is a really common topic for me to work on with my clients, and that is restarting. I often call this breadcrumbs. For many of us with ADHD, for me and for many of my clients, restarting is the hardest kind of starting. We know that starting, also known as activation, can be really hard when you have ADHD and our kind of brain wiring. Activation, of course, is organizing tasks and materials, estimating time, prioritizing, and getting started on something, right? But again, for many of us with ADHD, the toughest kind of activation is restarting. And what I'm talking about is coming back to something you've already started to keep it moving along. And it could be anything. It could be a longer term project or a bigger project that has a whole bunch of steps and pieces that you need to bring together and move forward over time. It could be a recurring activity or a chore or something you were working on when you were interrupted, or maybe when you interrupted yourself, because we do that, right? Sometimes we interrupt ourselves more than others do. And again, for many of us, coming back to something, restarting can be very, very difficult and really almost kind of painful, right? I get it. I often think to myself when I have to go back to something that I've already started, like, can't I just be done already? There are lots of things I think that fit that bill. So in addition to the whole can I just be done already piece, there's a transition element there. And anytime we transition our attention from one thing to another thing, that's harder for those of us with ADHD than it is for the rest of the world. It requires a lot of executive function processing and a lot of energy, and it generally is more difficult for us, to shift our attention where we need it to be and get ourselves focused on whatever it is that we're moving into or transitioning into, right? So one of the things I work on with my clients is how to make that easier, how to make transitions easier, how to make getting restarted easier. And one of the things I talk about an awful lot is the concept of breadcrumbs, leaving yourself a trail of metaphorical or proverbial breadcrumbs so that you can get back into and restart the thing that you want to get back into or need to get back into, right? Another way I often refer to this with clients is finding a way to bookmark it or finding a way to leave yourself placeholders so that it's easier for you to get back into, transition back into, and make meaningful progress and resist getting restarted a little less all the time. So when I'm talking about leaving yourself a trail of breadcrumbs, what I mean is before you leave the thing that you're eventually going to have to restart or come back to, making sure you leave yourself sufficient information, making sure you leave yourself, what you need to get back to where you were or as close to where you were, as you can be. One of the reasons I think so many of us hate interruptions is that it can really be painful to get yourself focused on something and then either have to walk away from it or have yourself interrupted so that you're pulled away from it when you've finally gotten yourself, into it and focused and really kind of working on it. It really can be difficult. Those kinds of transitions and interruptions in focus are really difficult for a lot of us. So the breadcrumbs I'm talking about, it's what you give yourself, what you leave for yourself to make it easier for you to get restarted again. So what I'm talking about, again, I'm talking about notes, I'm talking about links. I leave myself like a ton of information. My memory is not as reliable as I would like it to be. It's not as consistent as I would like it to be, or maybe I should say, as other people's memory is. It is what it is. I'm over it. I'm used to it, and I know that remembering where I was is not always easy. So I want to make sure I leave myself those breadcrumbs. I want to make sure I make it easier for myself to warm up to the thing when I come back to it. So I leave copious notes for myself, copious information, like lots of information. I will leave links. I will drag links into emails. I will drag emails into calendar appointments, documents and other files into calendar appointments or into my to-dos. So the thing that you're looking for is the answer to the question, like, how can I hook future me up? Right? What breadcrumbs can I leave for myself right now that will make it easier for tomorrow me to jump right back in? What am I focused on? What am I working on? What am I thinking? What do I want to be reminded of when I return to this thing? How can I make it easier for myself to warm back up? So it's kind of stepping into the future and thinking about what future you is going to need before you walk away. Okay, so every time you work on the thing, before you walk away, you want to make sure you leave yourself those breadcrumbs. Once you step away, coming back to the thing is going to be a lot harder if you don't have anything that helps you warm up, right? It's much easier to decide while you're still focused on the thing, while you're working in the thing, while your head is in whatever it is that you're doing. It's easier to decide now what the next steps are, what the next actions are, what the next specific piece is that you want to tackle when you come back to it. So leaving yourself, making that decision now and leaving yourself that information now. What's the next actionable step? What information will I need? What resources will I need to complete that next actionable step? Doing all that for yourself before you walk away is huge. Okay, so think about it. What breadcrumbs can you leave for yourself? What will future you be so happy to find or encounter when you come back to that thing that will make it so much easier for you to restart and make some meaningful progress? And obviously, as well, make it something that you resist less. It becomes less painful because the transition is less jarring. I hope that makes sense. So when I'm working with this on clients, we set up their task management and project management processes to take advantage of these breadcrumbs, to make it really easy to work with these breadcrumbs and whatever the next action steps are. So you don't have to try to remember where you left off, what you intended to do next, what you were thinking about, or process all the pieces and parts, or get your head totally back into the project or the activity. You already know what's next. So getting yourself restarted and transitioning back in and making real tangible progress gets easier and easier and easier. As I'm recording this, I just wrapped up my end of the tax prep of everything I need to get to my accountant every year for my personal and my business taxes. And it's a lot. And tax prep is not definitely my strong suit and definitely not something that I enjoy. I know there are people out there who do, and more power to you. And thank goodness for you, because I'm definitely not one of those people. But every time I'm getting ready to walk away from the taxes, I'm making sure that I really leave myself clear, specific breadcrumbs. This is what I do next. This is the next piece of it. This is the next specific action or the next couple specific actions that I will take when I come back to the taxes. I've only got so much attention, right? I've only got so much focus and so much energy. So making myself stay in the taxes, not take a break, not walk away, keep going until I can't go anymore or until it's completely done. ends up really like being something that's detrimental to me. It ends up making the rest of my life harder. It ends up making me have less energy and less bandwidth and less time for other things in my life, whether it's work, play, or, the people that I love. So making sure that I don't, stay working in that hyper focus only, and that I can walk away and come back while I've still got something left for myself and for the rest of the world, is a really important part of how I manage time, energy, and attention. So think about how you can do that for yourself. How can you leave yourself those breadcrumbs? How can you make it easier for yourself to get restarted? What kinds of things can you do that will make it easier for future you to come back and jump in again? Feel free to share your thoughts, hear comments on this video on YouTube, comments on the ADHD Support Talk page. Join us in the ADHD Support Talk Facebook group. Let me know what you do, what works for you. Ask me questions. I'm happy to help you brainstorm, come up with ideas. Again, this is the kind of stuff that I work with clients on a regular basis, right? Setting up their systems and their processes in a practical way to make it really, so much easier for them to manage their own time, energy, and bandwidth. That's what it's all about, right? I hope you found this helpful. I hope I gave you some ideas. Again, join us in the ADHD Support Talk Facebook group if you'd like to share some ideas or ask questions or get my input on ideas that might help you find a way to get restarted and leave those breadcrumbs for yourself. I hope you found this helpful. Again, I always appreciate your attention, and thank you for listening to ADHD Support Talk.